Hi. Good afternoon or good morning, good evening, wherever you're watching this from in the world. I hope you can hear me clearly. This is my first live ever on YouTube. And I'm a little bit nervous. I won't lie because it's like people are watching me live. Oh my God. Anyways, welcome to the BigMa experience. Hi, my name is BigMa. You can call me the fire starter. Some people call me the soul high priest. And this is my YouTube channel. In case you're watching me for the first time, on this channel, basically, I talk about my life. I sometimes interview people because I'm also, a media personality, and I like talking to people because I'm very nosy. I like knowing what's going on with other people, and I also share stuff that I feel like people would learn from or benefit from, either spiritual or life lessons and whatnot. Basically, an experience of me. And I always say that I believe that I have gone through multiple lifetimes, and the the worth of experience I have is something I would love to share. Even though I'm just about to be 40, I've only spent 40 years on this earth, but it feels like I have done at least 100. That's how much knowledge I have stored, and I like to share, and also life experiences that I've gone through. And today's live is going to be me talking about three major testimonies that led to me deciding to release kabiyèsi, which is dropping tomorrow. Now, kabiyèsi, I need to first let you know that that song was actually recorded in 2000, I think 2013, end of 2013 into early 2014. That's when it was recorded. That's how long ago the song has been. I've had it in my archives for years. In fact, the producer of the song doesn't even have the original data anymore. Like, he didn't even remember that we did that song. That's how old it is. It's been over 10 years. But, I couldn't just not drop the song because when I recorded it then, it was a testimony of something that happened to me in 2011. That's the first testimony I'm going to talk about. Um, and it was me testifying to God's goodness because He delivered me from something I never thought I would experience in my life or even get through. And then but I didn't drop it then because back then we didn't have streaming platforms or anything as such, and I just didn't want it to get lost in the sea of online blogs, basically. So I just kept it, and then again I went through something in 2020, which I would also talk about, which extended to like 2022, and when I was going through my archives early this year of my emails, I like doing that a lot. I keep stuff. If you're like me, if you're neurospicy, you always keep receipts. I keep receipts of different things. So I was going through my emails and I discovered it there and I listened to it. I'm like, oh my God, I still have the song, And immediately I listened to it, it took me back because you would understand because I'm going to play the song at the end of this for sure. But you will understand when you listen to the first few lines of the song why there was like a three-year gap that made so much sense with the song. And I'm like, my God did it again. And then I even reached out to the producer and I'm like, can we uh, maybe re-record it, or do you think it's fine the way it is? He was so busy we couldn't catch a break to actually hang out and talk about it, or get on the phone and whatnot. So I just kind of, and life was lifing, so I just kind of put it aside until recently again, which is when the third testimony comes about. Now I'm going to go back to the beginning of the beginning. Sorry guys, it's kind of hot here. There's no light. And I wanted to look cute for you people. So it's kind of hot, and I'm using all these lights that, oh my God. Anyways, so first testimony. First, by the way, welcome guys. Welcome for joining. I can see y'all. Thank you so much. First testimony was 2011. A lot of people know about this one. I talk about it a lot. I had an accident in 2011. That was, woo, God have mercy. The accident really messed with me. Really, really messed with me because I had just in 2010, no, sorry, 2009, I won a singing contest. called J Search. It was hosted by Tunja Omiobe, and it was the first one. They did like two editions of it. I won the first one. So in 2010, I dropped my first single and video ever, Way I Roll. Please don't look for it. It's on YouTube, but don't look for it. When you watch the video, you'll know why. Don't look for it. Anyways, and I was doing well. I mean, as you could back then as an upcoming artist, performances here and there. I was getting a little bit of press and what have you, and it was going great. But then, you know what comes with when you're getting a little bit like out there, a little bit known? It comes with energies, bad energies, basically. So in 2011, I guess I was moving with the wrong kind of people around me. And envy is such a spirit that even if they don't speak something, just the thought of it and the intentions can materialize in the physical. That's basically what happened. And I was on my way because I didn't record another song. I was going to go shoot the video. So I was going to the location to show the video director where we're going to use and all of that. And I had this accident where it was a freak accident because I literally got to Ikeja on the bridge. I took a bike, and I'm very picky about bike men. I make sure that it's like older people, elderly men or whatnot. And it wasn't rushing. But as soon as we got to the front of the last suit, the weirdest thing happened. This jeep that had been parked and wasn't moving, all of a sudden decided that this is the time he wants to ram into me. And it just went straight, hit me from this side, and I fell to the ground. Funny thing is, I know that I blanked for a minute. It's later I'll find out I had a concussion, a couple of broken ribs, and I broke this hand. I remember thinking as I sat up, I was thinking, because I couldn't feel my hand, I couldn't move it, I couldn't do anything. And the hand was holding, back then, 2011 BlackBerry, if you know, you know. The hand was holding my BlackBerry, and I remember just shouting, "Where's my hand? Where's my hand?" I thought my hand had like gone away. I thought it was like over and done with. But then one man actually told me, "Your hand is there," and he now helped me gently bring it. That's when I realized that I'd broken my hand somewhere right here. I even still feel the dents from time to time just to remind myself, about what I went through. And immediately after I saw my hand, next thing I shouted is, "Where's my BlackBerry?" Back then BlackBerry was expensive, and I was a student, so one guy had actually pocketed the BlackBerry. I shit you guys not. One guy had put the BlackBerry in his pocket. He brought it out of his pocket and gave it to me. Anyways, I go into the hospital. We know how Nigerian hospitals are. This happened around 4. They didn't attend to me till like 11. But as God will have it, they did attend to me, gave me some painkillers around at 11, just patched up my hand, but they couldn't fix it. So I had to go to Igbobi the week after. And when we got to Igbobi, shout out to Dr. Coca. Dr. Coca, shout out to you. Like, wherever you are on this earth, God will bless you. Because this man believed in me. And when I say, I'll explain why I say he believed in me. Because when I got to the hospital, first thing they did is they told us to run x-rays. And to see, that was when they realized I had broken ribs too and all of that. They told us to run x-rays. And then when they came back with that, they were like, they were going to have to operate on my hand and put like an iron because my bones are so small. Imagine, see as I fat and my bones small. How can you explain that? I don't know. But apparently I have tiny bones in my hands. And so my bones are so small that if they don't operate it, I'll have a double jointed elbow, meaning instead of just having one elbow, this place will also form like an elbow. So my hand wouldn't be straight. But I remember very well as we're sitting in the doctor's office that day, I heard it clearly. God telling me, no operation. And I remember telling the doctor, no. I looked at my mom. She saw that I was determined, and we both stood on that, no operation. And it was a scary time because for like 6 months, I was on bed rest. For 6 months, it was back and forth to Igbobi. And each time I went for a new checkup and they did a new x-ray, I remember they will always say things like, "Are you sure? Reconsider this operation." And I'm like, "No." And the first thing they'll say is, "You rejected operation." I'm like, "Yes, okay, go and do an x-ray." When I come back, they'll tell me the bone hasn't really joined, blah, blah. I'm like, "Don't worry. God said he'll do it." Then, as I was, I said that envy, the spirit of that. Now, the entity that was carrying this spirit actually visited me during the time of when I was resting at home on bed rest. And this person gave me a hug as if, "Oh, so sorry," And as soon as this person left and I took a nap, somehow the hand that was already healing started to really ache me. Now, this one I haven't really told so many people this part, but people very close to me have heard about this. This was the first time I would have like a miraculous encounter with Jesus. Yes, you heard me, Jesus. I remember I was in tears. I was on my bed after this person had left, and I was in so much pain. I was crying because the pain had come all over again, and I couldn't. It was as if my hand, like it was joining, then all of a sudden it loosened again, and I couldn't feel like it was back together. So the pain was like, even though it was in POP and all that, the pain was like it started all over again. And I heard clearly because I remember I was crying, and in one of the parts where the pain was so much, in my sleep, in tears, I was in so much pain. I was just like, Jesus, help me, God, help me, And I felt someone like nobody was in my room, but I felt someone like rearranging my hand. And I remember shouting, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And I heard this clearly, I'll never forget. It was like, why are you shouting? I'm here. I realized it was Jesus himself that was helping me fix my hand back. The next time we'll go to an x-ray, I can never forget. The doctor that first saw my file, you rejected. I was like, yes, I rejected um, operation. He looked at me like, do you know what you're doing? You know that kind of thing, like you think you know better than a doctor, that kind of, look. And then next thing, we do the x-ray, we come back. Of course, then I didn't know how to read the x-ray I didn't know what's going on. But I saw the look on his face. And then he called other doctors. I remember I think called other, like two other doctors in, and they were like, it's joining. Like literally, because of where it broke, usually the bone can't just grow back unless something holds them in place. And because I had so much fat around my hand, they were worried that the fat would not allow, you know, the bone to join. But do you know what the bone did? Or do you know what God did? Literally, the bone started to grow out of one part to cover and join the other, and it did the same on the other side. Literally, that's why there's like a bump here. The bone on its own grew out and became whole. I never did any physio. This is my hand. This is me. I never did any physio, and I can carry heavy stuff with this hand up till now. I can, you know, I can maybe do one or two press ups, just one or two, because I still sometimes get worried about putting pressure on the hand. And I remember when God healed me from that, because I mean, I went my whole life up until that point never having any broken bone, not highest maybe a broken toenail or something you get. And all of a sudden, I'm an adult. I can't even like take a shit myself. I have to wait for my mom to clean me. I want to take a bath. My mom is, I remember this particular day my mom had to go somewhere and she was stuck in traffic. I was the only one at home and I needed to take a shit and I did. And I had to sit on that toilet for almost 2 hours till she got home because I couldn't clean myself. I couldn't do anything. And I remember that day I cried so much. I'm like, oh my God. But as I started to get better, as I started to do more things, keep in mind all this period even with the broken bone. I didn't, because I remember that's when I got into radio. That was the first time I was out. I remember I was interning with, then it was called Radio Continental, but now it's Max FM. I was always there. I was, even with my hand in a cast or my hand in whatever, I was always still doing what I needed to do. But shout out to my mom, then she was always driving me back and forth, coming to pick me up, taking me back, because she knew how much I needed the activity to keep my mind, to keep my sanity. And that was the first testimony for me because that was a miraculous one. All the doctors with all their degrees said that my bones will never join by themselves. Hello, God did it. God did it. That's testimony number one. And that's why it took me, it was 3 years later I recorded the song. That's why at the beginning of the song, you hear me say, 3 years ago, I saw your hand in my life, basically. Then, fast forward to after then, I started to battle with depression. Now, if you're neurodivergent or you're on any spectrum of autism, you definitely either battle with depression and anxiety. And for me, it had been depression since I was a kid, but it was manageable. But not until I got mixed up with a narcissist. That was the first time I would experience full on, like, or like it would really mess with me and get to me. It's not like I didn't. I mean, years later, I realized that I always had narcissists around me, but I always knew how to like keep them at bay, not enough to get so close. But this particular one got close. Oh, she got close. She got close. And we're living together. So the abuse was 100 on a steady. And by 2019, I didn't know, but I was already clinically depressed. If some of you who know me remember that 2019 was a weird year for me. I went through different name changes. I went through different identities. I was all over the place. That's because I was losing my shit. And I didn't even know. I was literally going crazy without knowing I was going crazy, you know? I remember the craziest part was when I even went as far as cutting off my entire family. Told them, you know what? I disown you people. Disown me too, you know? I was projecting somewhat stuff that wasn't mine actually, but because I'd absorbed so much of that energy of the person I was with, I was overwhelmed by it. It was so much. And then 2020, because 2019, twice I tried to off myself. And each time God will somehow come through. First time it was okay, no, 2019 it was I tried to do it once, then 2020 was the second time, and that's when God fully came to the first time. Someone out of the blue just called me that wasn't even in Lagos, and he was adamant that we should hang out that night. I was like literally ready to off, and something just told me, you know what, just go. I didn't even take a shower that day. I just picked the cab, and as soon as I got there, he just told me that I just wanted to see me. He didn't even chill long with me. He even left me there where I went to meet him. And that's when I sat down and I realized, okay, this is God, because God doesn't want me to do it. you know. So 2019 passed. 2020, literally January 12th, 2020. That whole first week, I was already like in deep darkness. At this point, the person I was living with we're barely even having real conversations, because it was always like fight. If you can hear anything, like, I'm fanning myself. I just want to show you the you know what? Here's my fan. And yes, if you can tell, I'm obsessed with the color blue. Deal with it. Anyways, so 2020, January 12th, I had gotten to the point, I was numb at this point. I remember I recorded a video and posted to X, then Twitter, where I was crying. I'd never done something like that. I was crying in a video talking about, I can't remember what I talked about, because I remember I had to delete that video that same day, you know, and I think it got to my family some type of way. I think I also said, okay, I also sent a message to my mom that was more like, it will take me years to realize that I was actually writing my, sorry, I did this note without even knowing, and my mom saw that, and she swung into action, and she had to reach out to people. I remember, I can never forget that Sunday. I'm just sitting on my balcony outside, contemplating my life choices and whatnot. And this man enters the compound, and he says he's asking of me. And I'm like, hello, I don't know you. What do you want? Ashe, it is police people. My mom had to contact, because she wasn't around. She had to contact someone who contacted police people, who had to come take me so that I wouldn't self harm. So they took me and kept me overnight to watch me at the station to make sure that I was fine. And I was freaking out the entire time. I will talk about my experience about that, you know, overnight stay some other time, but I don't want to tarnish the testimony that I'm trying to share here. And then the next day, they took me to Yaba Psychiatric Hospital, which is fondly called Yaba Left here in Nigeria. Yes, I went to rehab. And January 13th up until March, I think March 15th, that was where I was. And that was God coming to my rescue the second time. Because before I went there, I need to preface, I need to go back a couple of years. 2018, I think the end of 2017, I realized that I was acting weird. I was going off, and I was having very like irrational behaviors that got me very concerned. So I literally took myself to Yaba Left for diagnosis, because I already done some online tests. He told me it was bipolar disorder. I spoke to the doctor. When he asked certain symptoms, he said it sounds like it, but still go for a diagnosis so that he can be sure. And I remember when I got to Yaba, this was 2018. It was 2018 December or January. No, sorry, January 2018 January. I got to Yaba, and when I told them I came for myself, every point I was sent to, they asked me, "You came alone?" See, I've said this before. I'm an overachiever. I'm someone that if there is a problem, I have to fix it. So it's not a thing of waiting around for people to, oh, let's go together. No, 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 no. I need to get to the bottom of this. So I took myself to Yaba to find out what was wrong with me because I needed to know. I was very worried. I needed to know. And the doctor, after 3.5 hours of questioning and whatnot, they concluded I had bipolar type 2. And something in me just didn't want to accept that because I'm like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to believe that my mind has control over me. But because I didn't really understand the gravity of what was going on, I kind of like ignored it. The meds they gave me after like a month, I discarded it. So come, fast forward to 2022, when I got to the hospital and they asked for my name and they saw that I already had a file there. They're like, "You were here?" I was like, "Yes." And they're like, "Oh, okay, this is making some sense." But then I also had a huge manic episode that day. I lost my shit. I went off so much that they had to sedate me. They literally had to like inject me to pass out to calm me down. By the time I woke up, they already signed me in for admission. Like, you ain't going nowhere. You need to fix you. I remember begging my folks on the phone that they don't let me stay, please, please. And with my mom to cry with me, you have to this for your own good. And I am grateful that they didn't listen to my pleas to leave. As soon as I got in there, I think after my first week, I asked for a book, and because you're not allowed to have electronics or certain things in there, so I got a book and a pen, and I started to journal my entire experience there. And literally, it reactivated my relationship with God. He started speaking to me more. I started to understand better what He needed of me, and I started to heal. I started to understand all the toxic things that were around me and whatnot. I would advise a lot of people, if you know that you're struggling with any kind of mental health issues, go to rehab. There's nothing stigmatizing about it. There's nothing yucky about it. There's nothing like, oh, it's rehab. Oh my god, yeah, ballet. No, no. If you know what you're going in there for, you're looking for help and you really want to get help, go to rehab. There are people that are willing to help. Granted, the environment might not be extremely conducive, but where really is. So why don't you choose the kind of inconvenience? Would you rather be home thinking, evil thoughts to yourself, or would you rather be getting help in an inconvenient environment that will shape you and help you and make you grow? Anyways, back to the testimony. Now, when I came out in March, I came out to COVID lockdown, and because I've been locked up. When I say locked up, it's like you're in prison, really. Because I've been locked up for 2.5 months, I came out into lockdown. I apparently got anxious. Now the depression had moved aside. It was now full on anxiety. It was so bad that even after the lockdown, any loud noise, anything, I would freak out. And then the bipolar meds and whatnot they gave me was also reacting weird with me because I was so anxious. I started to have heart pains that, see, never ever Google your symptoms, especially when it comes to you feeling anything in your heart. Don't do it because everything was telling me it sounds like heart attack. Yeah, so I was freaking out, and then I told my mom, like, we need to go to the hospital. I need to find out what's wrong with me. I did the whole the cholesterol, then they would check your heart rate and everything. I was very nervous when the results came out. They said, even my cholesterol, they were like, your cholesterol is fine, that is normal, like everything is fine with you. And that really confused me. As I said, as an overachiever, I need to find out and get to the bottom of the problem. So I started to look at all the components of the meds given to me online. And I realized that one of the meds was actually triggering my anxiety and causing that pain. So when I went back to, because I used to go for monthly checkups or bi-weekly checkups back then in Yaba, you had to be doing it. You come around, check up, make sure that you're fine. And I complained about it, so they removed the drug from my prescription, and I carried on. So I was on, and I remember them telling me you have to be on these drugs for life, bipolar is something you live with for the rest of your life. You just have to manage it. But something in my spirit wasn't willing to accept that. I don't know why. Something just didn't want to accept that I'm going to forever be on medication. Like, God, literally, Jesus Christ died on the cross for, to take away, the sins of humanity, diseases, everything. All you just have to do is believe and have enough faith in God that you'll be fine. It took me a minute to have that faith because I still used the meds for like 2 years. In 2022, and the meds were not like, one, I couldn't really get creative. They were making me dull. I couldn't really participate in everyday life. I became a shadow of myself. And some people that were around me at this time, who also didn't know weren't good for me because of their energy, thought that I was weak just because I wasn't at my full capacity. And they thought I wasn't noticing certain things. I think it was what really pushed me to want to get better because I'm like, nah, these people ain't gonna play me like this. So in 2022, I remember when I first did a couple of days off. I think it was 3 days off the meds, and I felt like back to normal. And I'm like, okay, let me see if I can actually go off fully, maybe for like a month, two. Let's see how it goes. And also, let me work on me. Let me work on my mind. Let me work on my beliefs. Let me work on, and also working in connection with God because I'm not going to do anything outside of Him at this point. And I called my mom and dad and I told them, I'm going to go off the meds. Do not be worried. I am fine. At this point, I'm living by myself again. I'm taking care of myself again. And I'm like, don't worry, I'll be fine. I need to do this because I need to believe that I am healed. And to believe that I need to get off the meds. And because my mind cannot control me. I own that bitch. She gonna listen to me. So, and that's what happened. I went off the meds, I think in April of 2022, and I haven't gone back since. I haven't had any cause to make me feel like, I need the meds. No, I've been fine. If anything, I've been healing. My journey with God has gotten closer. 2023, I restarted my spiritual awakening, got closer to God, started to listen to Him more, started to understand my purpose, my calling, why I'm on this earth, why He made me go through even all these things I've gone through, and who I'm becoming. And I watched it all, just disappear. That's why when I came across kabiyèsi again in early this year, because I think I said this in one of my vlogs. I got fired from the former job I was doing, unlawfully fired, by the way, from former job I was doing, October last year, and I literally was just loafing and floating at this point. And so in January, when I do that a lot. I just go through my old songs or old emails, just there's some silly songs I've done in the past, especially 2017. I did a lot of silly songs in 2017 that are so hilarious that I just play them back because it's fun for me to listen to. It's like it's like what was I thinking? And then I was listening to, and I listened to kabiyèsi right again, and I'm like, oh shit, that happened 3 years ago again, and that's when I reached out to the producer and I'm like, yo, can we try to, maybe work on this again? Because I was feeling that maybe the quality, nothing is wrong with quality. It's just that I used to battle with perfectionism, which I know that God has helped me like kind of deal with. So it was one of those things like maybe it's not good enough. But one of the gifts God has given me is when I sing a song, I record a song, I write a song, um, I infuse my soul fully in it. When you hear it, you go like, "Oh my God, she has the voice of no." But one thing I know my voice does is when you listen to my music, it does two things. It would either heal you or trigger you. It's one of the two, because I've noticed. It took me a minute to notice, but I've noticed that it's either my music does something healing to you that makes you feel light, makes you feel that's like fire starter. She get that's why they call me fire starter. It starts a fire in you. Now, Fire can go both ways. It can either warm you or burn you. So that's where the trigger comes in. If you are not like right with God, right in your heart, in your soul, if you're dealing with a lot of darkness and you're trying to ignore it, it would trigger you. And that's why there are a lot of people out there who can't understand why they can't stand me. I get it. It's because we're all mirrors. And I'm a big mirror. I'm like a magnified mirror. And I magnify those things you try to avoid within you that is meant to help heal you. And that is why there are a lot of people out there that just can't stand me. And it took me a long while to stop feeling bad about that. I used to feel bad about the fact that people just couldn't stand me, and I could literally just be existing and I piss people off. I haven't done anything, just and I used to wonder why. But now it's more like I get it now, it's understandable, and I hope you heal, basically, because that's all I want for anyone is healing, is being able to be whole again, to be the you that God made you to be authentic, to be real. That's all I wish for everyone. So that's the second testimony. God healed me of bipolar disorder. And if anyone is doubting, I would be willing to go under any diagnosis yet again. And I can assure you, the doctors will come back with a clean slate of health. Like, okay, yeah, she's good. You know. The third one happened recently. Now, after January and I couldn't get hold of a producer, I kind of like just let me just drop the song. I just put it aside for now. Maybe some other time. Then 2 Fridays ago, I had the only way I can explain this is I think I had absorbed because everybody we all know what's happening in the world, especially in Nigeria right now. Especially if you're in Lagos, there's this air of darkness, there's this air of depression, there's this air of sadness, of grim hopelessness that is literally just filtering everywhere. Anyone you talk to, nobody is trying to uplift any other person. Everybody just wants to come together and complain and kumbaya in sadness and talk about how bad things are. It's obvious that things are not so great, but if you keep talking about it, that means you are buying into that energy and you're amplifying it. Which and we are all energy. So whatever you absorb is who you are, is who you become. If all you keep talking about is how bad things will continue to keep being bad. It's not going to get any better. And me, I'm an empath, and then God now decided to make me a super empath, meaning I literally can not just feel energies, I can also, if I'm not careful without the right boundaries in place, absorb them. That's what happened to me with the bipolar thing. I can literally absorb energies, and it took me a long while to be able to understand myself to that point. It took me getting to heal to understand that. But then again, it happened recently, and this because everywhere, and this period, there was no light, broke as fuck, and everybody around me. I'm trying to stay in that, because I do ever since 2022, no 23, sorry. I've been doing daily affirmations every morning, before I start my day. I do affirmations either into the mirror or into my first drink of water. I proclaim all the things I want upon myself that day, so it can put me in that headspace where nothing can mess with me. But when you keep being around people and everybody's just, man, everything is so bad, man, can you go? And you're trying to be the light, but everybody's like, let's be realistic. And I'm like, I'm trying to be realistic. I'm like, do you guys understand that positivity is what can push you out of this darkness? Because even there's somewhere in the Bible that says, 1,000 will fall by my side, 10,000 by my, 1,000 by my left, 10,000 by my right, but nothing would touch me. Do you understand that that's how you protect your energy force field? With positivity, with understanding that yes, all this bad shit can be happening around me, but it's not going to touch me. But you have to really believe it. But here's the thing, that's why I tell people, I always use this analogy, just because you can ride a dragon doesn't mean you should own one. And that means just because you know how to handle certain toxicities around you doesn't mean you should dwell there, doesn't mean you should stay there. Because here's the thing, it would consume you. If you put a candle in the wind, what will happen? That's what that is. You need to know where your light is useful and place your light there. And that's something that even I am learning on a daily. Because 2 Fridays ago, I didn't know I had absorbed most of that negative energy. And Friday, I woke up with a version of depression. I'll call it a version because in my mind, because I checked myself, I was at peace. But in my heart and the rest of me, something was not just clicking. And I didn't know if it was me or if it was another person. I was trying to like search, I couldn't. And I remember I faced God and I said, see, if you're not going to bless me enough to get me out of this, and by bless, it doesn't always have to be financial sometimes. It could be blessing me emotionally, mentally. If you're not going to bless me, you might as well off me. Because I'm not going to off myself. I made it clear. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So I remember saying, I'm going to take a nap. This will be the time. This will be the best time for you to do it. So I don't have to wake up. God has such a sense of humor. Because I woke up in the evening and I'm like, really? I'm still here? Really? That night, it was literally me fighting with God. I totally get, who was that person that fought with the angels in the... Yeah, I felt like that. I literally felt like that day. And I couldn't sleep later that night. I just had tears in my eyes. I was so sunken in a dark place. And I just didn't feel like there was any reason to continue. And I'm someone who understands death enough to know that I'm not scared of it. I'm like, yo, if it's time, let's do this. Let's bounce. Because if not, going forward, you have to use me the way you put me on this earth, and you have to make sure that everything is good so that I can do what you sent me to do. So it's a two-way thing. It got to the point I was even like, God is not listening to me. He's literally, because I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't feel anything. I'm like, what's going on? Then around 3 a.m., I called my mom. I didn't even say anything, but she could tell in my voice that something was up. And then I literally just started crying and like trying to express how I was feeling. I couldn't. Before I knew, it became like, my mom is like me. We like crying together. We also like laughing together. So hey, and even my dad to try to encourage me. They started to talk to me, remind me of the promises of God, remind me of things that telling me to defeat that voice in my head that is telling me otherwise. It was not easy. It was a battle that went on for almost 2 hours, but God triumphed. Because at the end of the whole thing, when I started to calm, and because we prayed, we sang worship songs, and then my mom asked me to sing a song with tears in my eyes, with my voice cracked. I remember the song that I sang the first time I could attend church after I broke my arm, and it was My Help. I will lift up my eyes to the hills. If you know the song, The chorus says, my help, all of my help cometh from the Lord. That's a Psalm, I think 22 or so. I think, or 122 or something like that. Please forgive me. Google it if you want to know it. But I know it's a Psalm. And I remember how that song always ministered to me because something about it, made so much sense to me. So in that moment, as I sang that song, I felt peace fully wash over me. It's like I cleansed out whatever dark energy was within me, trying to, tie me down and make me feel like I wouldn't amount to anything. Like I'm useless. Like, I'll be better off dead than alive. And that's the lie of the devil, because when God has burdened you, well, I don't call it a burden, it's more like blessed you with a purpose that you're meant to, and it's a huge purpose. And it can be scary because you're like, little old me, you want me to do that? Are you for real? And you realize that, this might be a lot. The minute you allow just a smidgen of fear to enter, you've given devil access. It's like, I bet, let's get her. You get? And that's what happened. But after I sang that song, I cleansed my whole energy field, my aura. And then We said our good night, and then I played, because I have this playlist on Spotify that I created that I call, it's titled In His Presence. It's of songs of gospel spiritual songs that mean a lot to me from growing up until now, and I just put it on shuffle. And the first song that played was my song, He Covers Me. And I started laughing because God has a sense of humor. He talks in everything. He talks in the wind, He talks in the birds, He talks through music, He talks through movies, He talks through books, He talks through everything. Everything can be a sign and a synchronicity if you are actually looking and listening hard enough. And that's what that was. Because it's crazy that the first song that will play on the shuffle was mine. And it's not even like anywhere, like the first five songs you get. So it's like, ah, God, I hear you. I hear you. You're reminding me that you do have my back. You're reminding me that you're there no matter what. And when that happened, by the next morning, it was as if nothing happened to me. Oh, I left out the part where maybe some people might have seen that video. I did do a TikTok video where I was crying and I actually reiterated this, but I took it down. I took it down. I think after I spoke to my mom, I'm glad she never got to see it though. I took it down, I watched it again and I'm like, nah, I'm glad I have God in my life, because the devil would lie to you so bad and make you believe in those lies so much that you would actually, it will consume you so bad that if you don't hold on tightly to God, like that woman that just went and held the hem, just the hem of Jesus' garment, just the hem. She did with his hand, she did with his leg, she did just his cloth. And me, now God block us me at the hold, because I need to hold somewhere that is both precious to the both of us. He knows that, see, you're not going to leave me. You're not going to leave me. And he hasn't, if I'm being real, he has never left me. I'm the one that has allowed fear in time after time. I've had to battle that. And the best way to battle fear is to understand that fear and love can never coexist in the same space. And God is love. So there is no space when God is in you for there to be fear. Never. Never. You understand? So, yes, those are my three testimonies of the amazing things God has done in my life since 2011 till now that are like huge. Don't see, He has done so many other amazing things though. Like there are some miraculous things that even if I try to explain, I can't explain. Like the time when I was robbed in 2008 at gunpoint, I was in school then, and I remember I had the original certificates with me, my birth certificate, my WAEC, my everything, in a nylon, what's it called? Those nylon file case thingies. And they, at gunpoint, my bag, my BlackBerry, they're always trying to steal my BlackBerry. My BlackBerry was stolen from me. There was another Nokia phone in my bag. Everything was taken. And I remember that day, devil always tries me literally when he knows I'm about to do something for God. Because that day I was going to my parents' church. I was going to minister. It was a night vigil, I remember, and I was going to minister um, a song that I had done back then called Dance. I never mixed that song, that's why I never dropped it. I still have that song. That was the song that actually won me the singing competition in 2009. So I was going to sing that song. The CD was in my bag. Thank God I already burnt other CDs and they were home. And I had like 600 or something in my bag. And at gunpoint, I was crossed by two guys who body checked me. The BlackBerry was in my pocket. They took it out. I remember the idiot actually said, well, BlackBerry. you know. But all I could really think about was my certificates. I'm like, I know how hard it is to get original certificates back. You have to go to the police, do a police report, and all that stuff. But I went straight to church because I was with someone, so she paid for our transport till I got home. I went back home, got the CD, went to church, and I remember I testified that I was robbed at gunpoint tonight too, but I said I was going to come here, and because I cannot not sing for my father, you understand? I'm going to sing, and I did, and I went back home. And I still cried myself to sleep because of The certificates I really like. I'm like, I was ready to go back to the area where it happened because it said I had to go to the police station in that area the next morning. The next morning was a Saturday. And I woke up and I remember feeling like a crinkle under my pillowcase. And I'm like, what's that noise? Because I'm a very observant person. I just don't, And I open my pillowcase, I put up my pillow and I see the same nylon envelope with my certificates just laying there. Like nothing ever happened. So people might say, oh, maybe you forgot it at home. No, because that day I went to school to use it. And my plan was to go from school, which was at Lasso Antoni, to church straight. I had everything I needed in that bag because it was this big leather bag that my mom gifted me. I love that bag so much. But that was the last time I ever carried a really big bag, actually. The bag was this big and it had the certificate and it was practically empty. So all he had was the certificate, some weird odds and ends, and then the phone was in the outer zipper side with the 600 and something naira and then the BlackBerry in my pocket. Literally that. But then he appeared under my pillow. And I remember shouting, Mommy! Like, what's going on? That freaked me out, but that also strengthened my faith in God. And honestly, I've always been someone since I was a kid. My mom remembers this very well. And anyone that went to primary school also remembers this. During the break time, I'm literally, kids are outside playing, and I am standing right there, and I'm talking about God to my mates. And they're just looking at me like, literally talking about God all the time. I read the Bible when I was really young because I really liked the stories and the lessons I could get from it. And I would explain it in my own way to my own mates, and everybody just looking at me. You know where kids are. I'm in primary school and I'm talking about. So my relationship with God has been since I was born. It wasn't a thing of, oh, I found God. No, I've always known him. Granted, I have lost my way many, many times. I even said it in the song. You hear it when I play it very soon. Kabiyèsi. I have lost my way so many times. But his love keeps pulling me back. Every time I lose my way, God's love will find me again, either in a song or in a message. It could be art. It could be just looking at the birds. It could be just, even with my cat, Miss Simone, she's right here sleeping and looking like a drunk little kitty. Even with her, I find God in everything. His love is in everything. Even with you watching me right now, I can feel the energy of love of God coming through. The fact that you thought, okay, let me take my Sunday afternoon and listen to what this lady has to say. You are literally radiating God's love back to me. And thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. So I guess that's the message God really wanted me to share today. Because Kabiyèsi drops tomorrow on all streaming platforms. Actually, it drops by like midnight on all streaming platforms. And I've talked about it so much already. And I'm like, oh, let's listen to the song already. You've been talking for 40 something minutes. How about you play? Calm down, I'll play the song. Oh my God. Y'all need to learn patience. You need to learn patience. All right. So this song, as I said, was done in 2014. And this is my testimony of all the goodness God has done in my life so far and all that he's still going to do. And I hope it also becomes your testimony. And I decided to give you all a sneak peek listen before it drops tomorrow, before they start saying, you cannot use it, copyright, and all kinds of things. Anyways, listen to Kabiyèsi by BigMa. Enjoy. I like the beach, so. Years ago, I saw your hand in my life. You healed me when doctors said they could not. I lost my way so many, many, many times, but your love keeps on pulling me back. 'Cause in your presence I see your love is abundantly shown. And with your grace and favor, I can only sing your praise. Happy as the rain of my head, of my heart. Happy as the rain of my head, of my heart. And with my hand, you are God. Yes, He is. I'll be my own. You are God. Listen. I've been a fool for thinking you were done with me. I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. But I did. Yes, I did. But on my knees, tears rolling down my face. You whispered to me that you were always there. He's always there if you believe. And in your presence I see your love is abundantly shown. 'Cause with your grace and favor, I can only sing your praise. Happy as the rain of my head, of my heart. Happy as the rain of my head, of my heart. I will my own. You are God. I will my own. You are God. And in your presence I see your love is abundantly shown. 'Cause with your grace and favor, I can only sing your praise. Happy is the rain of my head, of my heart. You're the beginning and the end. Oh, Lord, I worship you and I praise your holy name. Oh, you are God. Lord, I love you. Lord, I love you. Oh, yes, that is kabiyèsi rare. It's going to be out tomorrow or by midnight, 28th, wherever you are listening to or watching this. Make sure that you add it to your playlist. Make sure that you let the song minister to you so you can also be enveloped in that love and healing light of God. And I hope that my testimony can also heal and be like a marker for you to go like, man, if God can do it for BigMa, He can do it for me too. Because He can. All you have to do is believe, have faith. Yes, it's not every time that you'll get it right, but the most constant thing in this life is knowing that God is always there and His love is always available to you when you need it. So thank you so much for joining my first live of many that I definitely will be doing. As some of you know, I deactivated my Instagram, so this is the only place I'll be doing lives until my TikTok picks up. Then I can be doing lives there too. I really enjoyed this. I hope you did too. So if you did, make sure you like, comment, and share. Share it. Share it. I love you, but God loves you more. And I'm about to dip because I'm sweating and these lights are killing me. Love you guys so much. Do not forget, stay kind, stay in an attitude of gratitude, and God loves you.